Hi everyone and welcome to Vid Design channel. Today we're going to show you how easy it is to work with illustrators. Stay tuned. We are on the start screen of Illustrator. Here we have basically the possibility to create a new project or to open an existing one. On the start page, we can directly create a project based on a template above. Below that, we also see our most recently used projects in the lister tile view, which we can open and edit in the program by clicking on them. In the upper right corner, we can also manage our Adobe account and search for an existing project using the search function. On the left side under Open, we can also see our computer dialog where we can select and open a specific project. But now we want to create a new project. This is very easy with the button Create New. Here now opens a new window where we can make all settings to our project on the right side. Here we can set a project name at the top, which we can change later when saving. Below we can now set the dimension of our project where you should work in pixels if you want to create a project that be used digitally. You can also work with centimeters or millimeters if you want to create your project for printing, for example. For the latter is a bleed which you need if you want to have your image printed. Under the advanced options you can also set a color space. Just be sure to use an RGB color space if you are creating a digital project, and a CMYK color space if you know you are going to print it. On the left side we now find predefined project settings where we can select templates in the different categories above, so you can, for example, select a DIN A4 page, and all settings will be applied directly to the right. So you can easily make sure that your project settings should fit your idea. Under Recent you always have an overview of your last used formats. In the different areas you can always find templates from Adobe stock for Illustrator projects. Now let's try it. I just go to Create New. I still determine a name before I create the project. Then, before we really start, we look at the surface of Illustrator, how the program is structured and where you find what. Here we see our project name and if necessary other projects which we have opened at the same time in Illustrator. Via the X you can close the individual project. Also we can change the arrangement of the projects via drag and drop. On the right side we see three windows. Once the property window where we find all important editing to an element from the project. Next to it we have the layers. And the library window. In library window we find all our files from our Creative Cloud libraries, which are also linked together with many other programs from Adobe. Each window we can also reposition or arrange in the program by name, so you can set the interface of the program to a large extent. Besides the three windows there are also many other windows which we can find in the menu above under Windows. The tick in front of it shows if the window is currently active or not. The arrangement of the windows can also be saved here as workspaces, and so we can also create different arrangements for different sweater types. In this basic course we use the standard basic function workspace from Adobe that is nice and clear for the start, and of course you can extend it individually over time if you want. You can also easily switch the workspaces on the top right where we find the search next to it, where we can search Help or Adobe stock. Via the house icon we go back to the start page where we can create a new project. We can also in the menu under File create a new project or open an existing one. Here we can also save our files, export, or print them. Under Edit we can apply editing like copy, paste, undo, and redo. Use text. Here you can find much about spelling, as well edit colors, and defaults for printing PDF. Can set them here at the bottom. Set the keyboard commands and open the preset. How everything looks and works here is not important for the start, because the program already has the most important things preset by default. Here we can fade in a ruler, create smart lines or grids, in order to be able to align our elements in the project. Better I advise to activate the smart lines around more simply objects to each other, or to be able to place in principle in project. At the bottom of the program we can see the current size of the project, and we can switch between several drawing areas. At the top next to the menu, we can also select different views if we have several at the same time in Illustrated and want to use them next to each other, so it is even easier to work across projects. Lastly, in the menu we have Help where we can find all the information about the Illustrator View program and manage our Adobe account. Now let's take a look at all the different tools that can be used as an illustrator. We find all the tools on the left side of the program. We can change the screen mode here where we can also switch to a presentation mode to preview our final project without having to export it. Now at the bottom there is also the three-point menu where we can view all the available tools. Then by default, the bar will not show us all the tools at all or only the most important ones. Via the menu at the top right we can also select Expanded to show all tools or create our own arrangement of tools. Now we will look at all tools from top to bottom, which can be seen in the simple overview. The first tool at the top is the selection tool which you can always reach by pressing the V key on your keyboard. With this tool you can easily select your elements to edit them in the Properties window, move them or transform them with the borders. With the Direct Selection tool below you can edit shape and thread even better, because you can select their individual anchor points and edit them. Here you can also use a Group Selection or Lasso tool by holding it down. With a group you can simply select several anchor points at the same time, and with the lasso you can paint a selection which is then selected. Basically, if you see this little triangle at the tools, it means that there are more tools behind it which you can call by long pressing. Next we have the Drawing Pen tool, with which we can easily create a shape with a path. We click with the tool on our project, and then again a new line is created between the points. If you hold the mouse down while creating the shape and move the mouse, you can also make the line round. To complete a shape you have to click again with the tool on the first point to close the shape. If you click with the tool again on a created point you can also remove it again. If you click on a line you can add another point. The individual points you can then also reposition with the Direct Selection tool with the Anchor Point tool, which is located behind the drawing pen. You can also click on the points to remove their roundness and make straight lines out of them again. The Curve tool works in principle like the Drawing Pen tool, and that this makes round lines by default and no straight lines. Next we have the tool with which we can create Shape Illustrator. Next we have the Brush tool, which you can use to paint freely on your project. Unlike the brush in Photoshop, this brush is vector-based, or more precisely a path, so it smooths out after you have painted something, and you see exactly the lines you painted, which you could also touch up with the Direct Selection tool. With the Drop Brush tool you can also paint things as with a normal brush, so that I then creates a shape here and not a path. With the Crayon tool you can also paint fine paths. Next there is the Text tool, which we will look at in detail later. Below we now have the Transform tools, where we can easily rotate, scale, mirror or consume our elements with the individual tools. For the tools to work you must already have an element selected, and then click the mouse to apply the individual transformation to the project. Basic transformation like escalate or rotate, you can also make over the normal blue border with the Selection tool. With the Shift key pressed you can also do things proportionally. Now we have the Eraser and the Scissors tool. With the Eraser we can easily remove anchor points by painting. With the Scissors tool we can click on an anchor point to disconnect it, for example to divide a single path into many independent paths. With the Shape Creation tool you can simply merge several selected shapes into one shape with a painted stroke, because I think this is easier with the Pathfinder, which we will look at in the next chapter. Once we have selected a shape and clicked with the Gradient tool we can also add a gradient and edit it. With the Grid tool you can also click into a shape to add a grid, which you can then edit the paths. We will also take a closer look at the Eyedropper tool next time. What's a pretty cool tool is the Width tool. With it, you can set the thickness of the outline for individual color points, so you can also vary the thickness within a shape, making the shapes look more lively and dynamic. With the Match tool you can match shapes to each other, so for example if you have created a triangle in a rectangle and drag it with the tool from the outside to the inside, a shape will be created between the two existing shapes, which is a mixture of the two shapes. We also have the Drawing Area tool, with which we can transform our project dimension, also afterwards over the frame. With the Properties window we can add further drawing areas to our project. These are then exactly such project editing areas which we have at the beginning also on one. And so we can have quasi several sides within a project. In the Properties window we can enter all dimensions also on the basis of exact values. Last but not least we have the Magnifying Glass tool, with which we can simply enter our project or select it by holding down the Alt key. Behind the magnifying glass, we also have the Hand tool, with which we can move our project in the program. I hope I could help you. And see you soon in a new tutorial.